Hello and welcome back. My name is Mishka Kuma and today we are playing Gridmaster. I have been so excited. I mean, it's kept me like hooked for weeks and I've not wanted to do like anything these past couple of days. I couldn't even sleep the night before this came out. I think I slept maybe like 3 hours and then I was up since midnight just waiting. It was awful, but I'm very excited. We got in very quickly. And if you're not familiar, Gridmaster is time-limited game mode that gives you a new way to experience the world of Gielinor. It's basically a Leagues on steroids. It's really cool. It's bingo board style, increased XP multiplier, and pretty much everything that was super cool from previous leagues, including new things. And we'll kind of talk more as we go through the video. You know, I really love these fresh new servers or leagues and just the hype that is at the beginning of it. Seeing a bunch of new bald-headed, green pants, Bob-looking characters running out of the starting zone like a little plague of ants is honestly what I live for. You know, running through the goblins and cows and seeing people killing goblins and cows. It's always just so funny to me. But yeah, we're gonna get running straight into the game. I do have a little bit of a route I had personally planned out using, you know, the leaks that they gave prior to the release. I think that's something that's really cool and it builds hype, but also, you know, I kind of have a little bit of a gripe with it, but I'll talk more about that later. I did take Power Miner as our first relic. There is a bingo free space in the middle of the board. And Power Miner, it just auto banks anything you mine and auto smelts. It's really OP. So I rush over to Draenor, I buy a bunch of wines, and then my first step, and this was actually a deviation. I had not planned on this because this was not known prior, at least an hour prior to release, but running the Stronghold of Security, getting to the 4th chest, getting our 10k, as well as unlocking our next relic, which by getting the fancy boots, unlocked us the Fairy Flight, and Fairy Flight's really cool. It lets you teleport to any of the lost leprechauns, fairy rings, and I think there's one more thing. I don't think I ever used it, but it's a nice teleportation. And it's really nice to get it early on. After getting our 10k from Stronghold of Security, I head back to Lumbridge and head to Draenor to pick up our Chronicle and get a bunch of teleports for it. Teleporting over to Vrock, and another deviation to my original route, I do go buy some runes and a fire staff, and I head over to the Wizard Tower. Now, we knew that there was going to be a task for killing a lesser demon. However, we didn't know if there was going to be a long line outside the lesser demon like it usually is in leagues, or if they made some kind of adjustment. And so upon arriving there, we do find out that they did create a fix to the long line queuing by just putting lesser demons all throughout the tower. Really happy I didn't, you know, waste time early on heading here just to get screwed, so to speak. With the lesser demon defeated, we unlock our new bingo board relic, which makes it so if we do ever hit an enemy, our minimum hit will be at least +5. Which is quite a strong relic, especially when you get higher up and you get range never misses. It's really OP. And the reason I decided to try and get the Lesser Demon relic, because my next plan was to head to the Gemstone Crab, and I figure if I'm going to have to be sitting there hitting the Gemstone Crab for a bit, having that +5 minimum hit would really help with my training on it. So I teleported to Varlamore, which I'm not familiar with at all. I've actually never been here before until now. And I had to figure out my way there, but finally we made it to the Gemstone Crab. I saw it was pretty high health, so I decided to go over to the Copper Rocks. That way I could get 15 mining quickly. And that way I would be able to mine iron at the Gemstone Crab while waiting to kill it. I decided not to train too much on it, but I kind of went back and forth between killing it. Our Gemstone Crab actually kind of bugged out, and I guess maybe it has a chance not to burrow away, and instead it chooses the same position. So it actually burrowed and then just came back up with full health again. So Got a little bit more time. Was really glad I went by and knocked out 15 mining at the copper rocks because it let me get a few more mining levels. And while, we had to re-kill the gemstone crab all over again. And while I was here, I decided to finish up 40 mining, which unlocks another grid tile. On the way to Lumbridge to turn in our new grid slot relics, I swung by the goblins and decided to just kill a few. I will need a chef's hat later on for a future tile space, and I know I can buy one in Volimor, but I know I needed to get some combat levels up anyways, so it's kind of two birds, one stone. And since I had the minimum 5 hit relic, it made it really easy. No longer am I going to hit 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. As long as I hit the goblin died, so it was perfect. Now that we're finally claiming our relic, we got to choose a new item that is introduced in Gridmaster, and it's these. They have 3 of these scrolls. There's Gatherer, Production, and Combat, and basically you get to link 3 skills in those categories together, and earning XP in one of those skills will also give 50% of that XP to the 2 other skills. So for example, with Gatherer, I chose Mining, Agility, and Slayer. I knew for a fact I would want Agility and Slayer linked to something. And you actually had a lot of options. I know a lot of people took Fishing as their main skill to get XP, as well as Thieving. But I decided to link all 3 of them together. Altogether, they're honestly are all quite slow. I knew I would get the Greaves later on, which would train up my agility, so it would help boost up my Slayer and mining a bit. And as I did more combat later on, the Slayer would help boost up my agility and mining, and then I could always level with just through mining. I don't know if it was the best combination looking back, but I think for my plans, I liked it the most. Honestly, you really, you know, you don't really need to train up any of the skills other than agility and Slayer. And the only other skill, like woodcutting, you need to train up so you can do a little bit of fletching later on. You don't even need to train fishing because you don't, other than to get your first cooking level, but even that you can just buy. Thieving, there's no high level thieving tasks, and there's no, I guess there's 75 hunter, but hunter is horrible to train as well. So it felt like mining was going to be the most useful, as at some point I knew I was going to be making amethyst darts for my blowpipe, and I would need a pretty high mining level for that. So it kind of knocked out everything together. And also, just for example, you need 92 agility for hollowed sepulture tile, and you need 92 Slayer for a Raxor tile. So that's kind of my thought process and what went into deciding that. And also with collecting a gold ore, we're able to unlock our next upgraded gathering tool. And we do get the Echo Axe. It kind of makes the most sense. You know, you start with the mining or the axe, you get 45 wood cutting for a maple log, or you get 40 mining for a gold ore, and you kind of flow through all 3. So we got the wood cutting one, or we got the mining one first. We got 40 mining, gold ore. The gold ore lets us get the axe. We're going to get 45 wood cutting, unlock the maple log tile, and that'll let us get our last relic. So it's very fluid. As long as you don't take the harpoon first, you are big chilling. With those 2 relics unlocked, I am ready to unlock probably the most important relic here that is going to help us speed run the most, and that's the Golden God. So we're gonna have to train a little bit of thieving, because to unlock Golden God, we do need 50 thieving. So we thieved some men, and then we headed to the ham hideout and thieved there for a bit. Let me tell you what, that was absolutely awful. I think I should have just gone to the tea stall, but we grinded that out all the way up to 25, and we headed to Hasidius and the fruit stall, which gave us Dodgy Deals, which is a really nice AFK thieving relic. I did stay here. I probably should have moved on to other places, but you know, I was here already and I just decided to stay. It was quite nice in AFK. It is funny, you know, throughout thieving here, I probably told people to unlock their relic like 10, 20, 30 times. Because when you have dodgy deals and you thieve at a stall, it doesn't deplete the stall and it just keeps auto thieving it. The problem is when somebody came who didn't have dodgy deals unlocked, and so you only have to thieve once to unlock dodgy deals, and they're sitting there spam clicking it, they actually deplete the stall, and that messes up with your training. So I was like, every minute I was like, unlock your relic, brother, please unlock your relic. And I was playing ping pong between the two stalls because people would run in and just loot one stall at the other. So I don't know, it was fun. I enjoyed that, actually. And to unlock Golden God, we just had to head to Varlamore. We had to pickpocket some wealthy citizens until we got a house key, and then we just had to plunder an artifact from a house. Pretty simple, pretty easy to do. And with Golden God unlocked, we can now start making pretty much infinite money, and we'll kind of feed into a couple of other tasks, really high level tasks, which I don't think are meant to be unlocked. Well, I say not meant to be unlocked super early. It did feel like Gridmaster was very like synergistic, in which you kind of had an outlined path to go. And with getting Golden God, it kind of lets you skip ahead a few tiles, which you'll eventually have to go back and finish everything else. But it was really cool. Golden God is basically a money printing simulator. It allows you to cast high and low alchemy without level or rune requirement. It also makes items give 15% more gold and a 65% chance to not be consumed. So as long as you, it does require a little bit of luck right at the beginning. If you have like 20k gold, do not go buy a 20k gold item. Probably buy something that's like 10k and kind of slowly build up your cash stack. And eventually you'll get to condensed gold, which costs 10 mil and alks for like 6 point something mil. And you'll be printing bills very quickly. And for the fastest training method, you actually need like 4 billion gold, depending on the XP multiplier you're on. So getting this unlocked as soon as possible is very important. So I started with Addy kite shields in Varlamore, and then headed and did some Addy plates. With those added plates, I headed to Narda, and I started doing rune plate legs in Narda. And I stayed there for a while. I ran around in Narda, did a couple of tasks with my production prodigy, crafting knives, cutting gems, training my ranged up a little bit, just random little things. And once I had a high stack of ruined plate legs, I decided to move on and work on other tasks. I would need a little bit of a cash pile before I headed to doing magic stones and condensed gold. So I just sat on ruined plate legs for quite a while. I could have probably moved on to magic stones sooner, thinking back on it now, but I really just kind of wanted to go out and keep progressing instead of sitting nearby the vendor playing the out 10 things at a time game. Actually gives you the corner cutter relic, which is just Sage's Greaves. And how that works is you put them on, and as you run around the map, you basically just get passive agility XP. It's very slow. It's not going to get you 99, but it'll get you a very high base level quite quickly. If this was a longer league, it definitely would get you 99, but since this one is so quick, like I think people completed the bingo board in like 17 hours on the first go, and assuming you don't get RNG trapped at some of the bosses, you could probably finish this a lot faster with planning, maybe like 12, 13, even less. So went out, did Monk's Friend just to get some early wood cutting that boosted us all the way up to level 30. I headed to Willows and chopped Willows all the way up until level 45. And for some reason, instead of going to chop a maple log, I actually headed to Brimhaven, and I remembered that the Karamwan shop was there. I believe we have Taibawana auto completed, and so we are able to cook Karamwans right away. I also went ahead and completed Sea Slug, which gave us all the way straight 42 fishing, and also unlocked our 500 total level grid mark. And before I even unlock my 500 total level, I do go chop a maple log, and that's 2 tiles completed back to back. Gonna go ahead and unlock our maple log, which gives us Animal Wrangler, Makes it so we never fail hunting, and a very fast fishing and cooking training item. Unfortunately, we won't need it because we're going to get a corrupted shark later on, which is just infinite shark food, and then bottomless brew, which is infinite potions. But it's good because we do need total level tasks for that. I hold off from completing the 500 tile since that one actually just gives an XP lamp. And at the moment, I'm not sure what I want to use it on. And I want to hold it until I can get some higher XP multipliers. With 42 fishing from Sea Slug and finally having our harpoon, we do head to Temperos as there is a tile for defeating Temperos. And I forgot how OP this harpoon is on Temperos. It makes it a one-phase fight with other people who have it as well. It's a 2-tick harpoon and it's so OP. We kill it in one go and very simple. And we even get a fishing tackle box, which is cool. Not useful at all, but still cool to see. After defeating Temperos, I head over to the construction shop on Varlamore, and it's finally time to start building up our cash stack. I did get up to about 8 million gold, and I bought some magic stones to help me get over that 10 mil mark, which allows me to start getting into condensed gold. Make sure you go a little bit above 10 mil, because if you go straight to 10 mil, buy condensed gold and fail, it sets you down low. So, you know, just keep building up to about 12, 13 mil, buy your condensed gold, and eventually you'll get lucky. And not lucky, but you'll go on average and you'll start building up your cash stack. I stayed by here because, again, buying condensed gold at 10 mil, I was only able to buy like 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time. And luckily there's a big mine nearby, so I decided to just start training some levels while I was hanging out. I did have mining paired with agility and slayer, so gave me some time to level up my mining, agility, slayer, and smithing all at the same time, as well as building up my cash stack. I wanted to build up to about, 30, 40 stacks of gold before I left. I think I left sooner just to buy stuff, and I would head out to do different tasks while, coming back and buying more gold. My first task I headed out to do was to kill an ogress, and that was quite annoying. There were so many people there. There were actually so many people there. It was crazy. But we got a kill. I world hopped a few times. I think I don't know if people were doing a line or not, but maybe I'm a little bit toxic. Who knows? And with an ogress down and Temperos completed, we claim those 2 scrolls, and this is where we get our production scroll and our combat scroll. And once again, we have another big decision to make. So kind of going under the same premise for combatant, I could link 2 skills with prayer and then just train prayer up super high to level those skills. But I had no plans to train prayer really high. I was going to get 75 prayer, and that's honestly as far as I planned on getting prayer, because you don't really need more than 75 prayer. Usually you level prayer up higher because the higher your prayer level, the more use you get out of prayer pots and super restores. It actually increases the amount. But I didn't have a need for that, honestly, and prayer was going to train super fast anyways, and I didn't think I really needed, so I kind of wanted to go in the same direction that I did with the gatherer perk and just link 3 important skills together and just have them slowly train each other. And that's exactly what I did. I linked magic, ranged, and strength together. Probably the 3 most important combat skills, of course, for doing damage. And I honestly, thinking back on it now, I don't think I would change a thing. I did have a really low defense level. I eventually leveled up. Once you have a high magic level, you can burst it. Range level, you can, it's easy to train defense, but having those high combat stats really early on. And I went a different route with the production. There's not many skills here that you really need. You can train cooking really fast. You can also train construction really fast. Fletching is basically a free 99, so you could train multiple skills up to 99 with like no time loss. There were honestly really a lot of options you can do here, but it felt like a lot of these skills were very simple, and didn't really need any help. And so we were definitely going to level construction to 99 like ASAP, because there is a task to build a demonic throne, and that requires 99 construction. And there was also a task to hang a skill cape in your house. And so, you know, two birds, one stone kind of thing. I decided to link construction with two really kind of hard, annoying skills to train. Runecrafting is fast in leagues if you have pure essence. However, I had no plans on grinding any pure essence anywhere from mobs or anything. And herb lore, same thing. I had no plans on doing herb runs or anything like that. So I actually linked construction with herb lore and runecrafting. And again, looking back on it now, I feel like I made the right decision. It worked really well, getting up to 92 herb lore, which is very important for a task, as well as I mean, I got 90 rune crafting, but you know, there were no tasks for that, but it was good for total levels because I wouldn't have any way to really train it otherwise. So with all those selected, I head over to Varrock and I train up my prayer. I want to get 43 prayer. That way I can do my first boss task, which will be Bryofeta. Really simple boss. Just make sure you bring an axe, kill the little guys, open the chest, and very simple. We actually got 2 rune bars, which I thought I was kind of excited for. I was like, oh, is that gonna help me anyway? Unfortunately, no, but it was cool to see. Maybe there was something I could have done early with those rune bars, but I didn't really spend much time thinking about it. So with Bryofeta defeated, we did unlock that column buff, which was plus 200% XP. And Bryofeta kill also unlocked our first point into all combat masteries. So one of the leagues ago, they had combat masteries, and you could choose one combat mastery to specialize in. And it had 6 different tiers, which were all locked behind certain combat challenges. Luckily, this league, they let you have all 3, but you still had to complete the 6 challenges. I won't go over everything this does. It just basically makes your combat OP. It has really good effects on melee and ranged and magic, although the ranged effects are probably the most OP. And the magics have their niche use, honestly, but they're still good. Now that we have our first XP multiplier, I do go and train some cooking, and to knock out the really easy task of cook a shark with a chef's hat. So using those Karamblons. And the corrupted shark is very OP. It's just an infinite shark that never gets consumed. Perfect for this league and making fishing and cooking obsolete past 76. So I head out to do some wood cutting. I need to train my wood cutting up until I can unlock mahogany logs. I need mahogany planks to do golden sinks, which is the fastest training method. Costs a lot of gold, but the fastest training method at like mid 40s. So we go there for a little bit. It's a little annoying because while wood cutting, you can't actually alch. Auto alcher doesn't work while wood cutting for some reason, but you can actually get around it by just spam clicking the tree. But I found that out way too late, unfortunately. So a little bit of time wasted alching there. So I completely planned on training construction at this point, but unfortunately, I've kind of zoomed through everything very fast and did not have enough gold to do construction. So I decided to opt into doing some of the combat tasks I wasn't necessarily ready for yet, just as I needed to do something in the meantime while I continued alching. I missed recording at some point, but I did get a forager's pouch. It was very simple to get. All you had to do was just clean 3 grimy herbs. I went to the ham hideout and I pickpocketed there until I got an herb drop, and I just cleaned those. And the friendly forager offhand item, while you're skilling, gathering like woodcutting, mining, or fishing, it just collects random herbs for you up until a certain amount. So that's kind of how I solved all my herbs throughout the game. It gives you low level herbs when you're low level skilling, and as you get higher level skilling, it'll give you higher level herbs. But we had Renars already, so we were able to make a bunch of prayer potions thanks to Production Prodigy saving our secondaries. And I headed to Scurious, which is was a difficult fight. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to beat it with using death rune spells, but I did beat it, and that unlocked us our next combat mastery. Quite a simple one, but was fun to do. I was looking into completing this next column, which the hardest one on there was to defeat Jad and obtain a fire cape. I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that, but I wanted to try. It also wanted me to plant a fruit tree as well as get to, I believe it's 1,000 total or 1,500 total. And since I needed to train construction anyways, I bought a couple of bagged plants and I made trees inside of my house, which I used to get up to 45 farming. And with 45 farming, I headed over to the farming guild and I tried doing a couple contracts there. I was hoping to get an early fruit tree seed, but I got unlucky. I did, I think, 3 easy contracts and unfortunately didn't get any fruit tree seeds. So I decided to go ahead and just leave it there for now. I'll come back to it later at some point. It was basically just to kill time until I had enough money to do construction. After giving up on the fruit tree seed, I decided to hit the barrows, and I completely misread the assignment, the task. The task is to open up the barrows chest while equipping a barrows item, and I thought it was just do a barrows run. So I did get lucky. I got first KC, Guthan's War Spear, and then I tried to put it on and I realized, oh, I don't have 70 attack and I'm nowhere close to it. So luckily I had the item, but I still needed to go train my attack up, and we're going to go ahead and leave that for later for now. I do go out and do a couple of quests to work towards that attack goal. Waterfall quests completed, gave us a good amount of XP all the way up to 54 attack. And I decided to put everything on pause because at this point I had enough money to do my construction grind. A lot of people went and got their banker's note at this point, I noticed. I didn't even think about doing that. I mean, that required you killing Jad, and I did attempt Jad at some point, but I was not able to kill it. So I did this all without banker's note, you know, cut all my planks at the plank maker, made golden sinks. I just used, you know, the bank teleport and the house teleport, shifting it into building mode. I mean, it's really fast. It's construction with infinite money. It's probably like the fastest thing to do in the game. And then I went and hired the demon butler, and I used the demon butler to build the marble stone walls all the way up to level 95. And once we got to 95, we did crystal thrones up to 99. And so with 99 construction, we headed to the construction guy, bought our cape and put it up in the house, and that unlocked us our Thunder Kofesh, one of the best spec weapons in the game. Unfortunately, it's not that great right now, as I don't have a lot of the additional perks unlocked that make it really OP, but it's still a really great weapon that has no requirements to use, and it's my best weapon at the moment. So was happy to get that. I went and hanged my skill cape next, and this gave us kind of a neat reward. It's not super special, but Spiky Aura lets you reflect at least 25% of your damage taken to your enemies. And with infinite food, this actually adds up to quite a bit of damage done to your enemies. So I don't want to overlook how good it is, but it is pretty good. Took a little bit of time, leveled up my prayer, because the next thing I wanted to attempt to do was the fight caves. And like I said before, you know, the higher your prayer level, the more prayer XP each dose of prayer gives you. And at this point, I don't have infinite prayer. So I take a little bit of time. I get up to 70 prayer, and I head to attempt fight caves. So doing it with both the Thundering Kofesh as well as the Tazar rings. I go for quite a bit, and I get all the way up to the mage guy, and I just realize I do not have the damage for this. You know, I am so weak. Maybe I could do it, but it would require me prayer flicking as well as taking a very long time, and I just decided it wasn't worth the time to do that right now. I had other things I could do, and that's kind of what I did. So I left, I headed back to Scarius, and I killed Scarius for a bit until I could get 70 attack. My first Scarius spine, I did go make the Ratbane weapon. I wasn't sure if it would be better than the Kofesh, but it did come out to being slightly better. Training at Scarius, I did swing by the farming guild to check on my contract, and lucky enough, I got some apple tree seeds. I didn't have the things to protect them, and I was too lazy to go and collect them, so I decided to just plant 3 of them and keep 1 seed just in case all 3 of them failed. So we'll have to see later if we got lucky or not on that. I went and bought some anti-poisons, and I headed to go kill a lizardman shaman. I wasn't sure if I was strong enough for this. I think this was one of the things I was kind of unconfident in myself and my like abilities and where my account's at. It's kind of hard to gauge your power level and like what you can do if you have infinite food as well as prayer. I mean, it's like you would never consider going to kill a lizardman shaman this early on a normal account. I mean, you would just use so much food and resources. But then it's like, you don't think that, oh, you just have an infinite 20, infinite shark in your inventory. Like, there's a lot you can do when you just can eat through a lot of stuff. And by killing the Lizardman Shaman, we actually unlocked the Song of the Elves questline, which opens up a ton of things. Actually, surprisingly, a ton of things. And one of them was to get the Bottomless Brew perk. And to do this, you have to craft a Forgotten Brew by the Varrock Chaos Altar, wearing Zamorak robe tops and bottoms. So I headed to the ZMI altar after running around like a mindless idiot. For some reason, I thought you could only get these robes in Underground Pass, and I was like, oh, I need to unlock the Elves questline to be able to do this task. But no, they're actually at ZMI. So went to ZMI, got our robes, got our potion ingredients, and we made that task, which was perfect. Now that I had infinite potions, I needed to actually go craft some potions, but that'll be later on. Since I had Song of the Elves completed, I wanted to go try Gauntlet. I wasn't sure how doable Gauntlet would be with only 46 HP. But yeah, totally doable. It's a little rough, but I created tier 3 armor. Well, I did tier 2 armor for normal Hunlef with a tier 3 weapon and a tier 2 weapon. And then for Corrupted Gauntlet, I made full tier 3 armor with a tier 3 weapon and a tier 2 weapon. And I think I died on my first attempt, but my second attempt I got him down. Wasn't sure if it would be possible. I've never done it with such low HP before. I'm wondering if the damage from Hunlef scales with your HP level, which is very interesting. And that's kind of where I was like, oh man, I could have unlocked this so early. If I knew that I could beat Corrupted Gauntlet with such low HP level, I could have got Banker's Note so much sooner, and it would have made a lot of things a lot easier, mainly construction. But again, not going to dwell too much. It does kind of make me feel like it may be fun to run back leagues with like a laid out strategy and just see how quickly you can complete leagues with the RNG, like Barrows RNG, Yama RNG, Raids RNG, everything like that. But I'll have to think about that one. So now that we have Bottomless Brew as well as Banker's Note, not that I'm planning on doing anything with Banker's Note at the moment, I do run around and make a couple of potions. I make a brew, a super restore, as well as a divine super combat. I create my Ratbane weapon, and I head to Scarius as I am now on the path to grinding out 70 attack. I kind of go back and forth between Kofesh and Ratbane. I'm honestly not sure which one's better. I was at one point using Kofesh and then switching to Ratbane to kill the ads, but I think I eventually just ended up using Ratbane by itself. And with 70 attack, we run back, we do Barrows. With ease, we turn in our quest for, a good chunk of prayer XP. And with that Barrows task complete, we get an additional increase to our XP multiplier, as well as +1 combat mastery. And now that I'm feeling more, more confident And now that I'm feeling more confident in combat styles, as well as having infinite prayer potions and food, I decide to head back to Jad and do a Jad run. Very easy, quite slow, tedious, but again, infinite food, infinite prayer. As long as you don't get comboed out or one shot, you are chilling. It is kind of scary with 61 HP. It's very easy to get comboed out, and it's almost guaranteed you get hit by a Jad hit, you're gonna die. But we did complete it, and with Jad down, that gives us the reward of the Final Dawn Baltimore questline auto completion. Again, I'm so new to a lot of the new content. I didn't really understand what exactly that unlocked for me, but it did unlock Perilous Moons, which I did not realize was as easy as it was. I should have headed there almost right after, but that's, again, future me kind of problem. And again, after defeating Jad, feeling more confident, I actually had to Cowfight Queen and do a Cowfight Queen kill. It was also very easy. Again, so easy to get comboed out, but, you know, with infinite food, infinite potions, just safe up every hit. Slowly, she'll kill herself on you with your spiky aura, and it's just, you know, a guaranteed task completion. Cowfight Queen just gives us a drag or blowpipe. It'll be really nice once we get one take blowpipe for a lot of content. But for now, I need to go train some more skills. So another grid slot we have is to actually make a Amulet of Fury. And with having completed Fight Caves, we now have access to the gem shop. And with Banker's Note, it's really fast. We get all the way up to, I think, 83 crafting in just like 10 minutes. And with Production Prodigy boosting our skills, we are able to make an Amulet of Fury quite simply. We already had the magic level thanks to Golden God, didn't even have to boost for that one. And for equipping an Amulet of Fury, it unlocks the whole Desert Treasure 2 quest line, which was neat, of course. I spent a little bit of time training up my smithing and fletching. That way I could make some higher level darts for my blowpipe. I ended up just making some mithril darts for it. Felt sufficient enough until later on. And I decided to try something a little bit spicy. I wasn't sure if it would be possible, but I did want to try, and I did not realize how long this would take. I thought it would take, you know, maybe 15, 20 waves, but it actually took until wave 31 in the Inferno, and the task was to kill the Major in the Inferno. So it took me about 24, 25 minutes, but we finally got there. I say finally, we survived. I should be more happy than I am, but I was shitting bricks. We survived. We made it all the way through. And with that task completed, we finished a column and unlocked another combat mastery, as well as the Slayer Master relic, which I hadn't realized at that time, because my brain was only thinking about fletching broad bolts. But it also makes you on task for all the monsters you're fighting. So I should have at this point gone and got my Slayer helmet, but I wasn't thinking about it at this time. You can actually get to, so the bank is locked until you do the quest, but if you teleport to the leprechaun on Harmony Island and then take the teleporter in the windmill, talk to the guy in the windmill, he will take you to Mostly Harmless. So you can get there without the quest. And then you, of course, you need a torch and you need a Witchwood icon, but you can get your black mask without doing any quests. And I think at this point, I'm kind of just going through and doing whatever. I'm trying to figure what's easiest, what's even possible. And I set my sights next on Zora. Zora was a little scary. Again, worried about getting comboed out. I did have a super anti-poison to help clear up the venom and take it down quite easily. Zora unlocks us quest chain, which is Monkey Madness 2. And again, feeling confident, just slowly going up the boss ladder chain. I decide to head towards God Wars Dungeon and try my luck at Bandos. Again, wasn't even sure if it was going to be possible. Thought I might get myself stacked out. I did want to get me some melee gear because, you know, I planned on using a lot of melee combat and I wasn't sure where I would get gear for that anywhere. Um, and yeah, it was actually really simple. Just camp, pray melee, and just spam eat shark brew whenever. And we got a Bandos chest plate on. We got Bandos boots on KC4, and 1 kill after we got Bandos chest plate. I was not happy with the boots. I was like, I want 1 piece of armor, and I'm not leaving until I get it. But now I was back to the same problem. I did not have the defense level to wear it, and so I headed to Scurious and got up to 70 defense at Scurious. And again, we're just back to, you know, slowly crawling up the boss chain. I headed to Hugh Caudle. I have not done this boss before. I was here with melee, and I feel like I was not really doing so well participation-wise. A lot of people were using magic, and they seem to be doing better than me. So I decided to leave and try and upgrade my gear a little bit, get a little bit stronger. Because that, you know, it is group bosses like that are all participation based, and the better you do, the more you participate, you know, the likelier you'll get a drop from it. So I know I did not want to duo it. I did try to solo it a little bit. It was way too difficult. So I tried to head and get some other upgrades first. So I went trained up my hunter and caught a moth bare-handed, which unlocked for us the Dragon Slayer 2 questline and allowed us to fight Vorkath. And unfortunately, Vorkath is not as easy as it seems. I had to use melee because I needed to use a shield. I didn't try. Maybe I should have tried it without a shield and just used the blowpipe, but I wasn't very confident. I did make an anti-fire, and I knew it was just for 1 kill, because after we get the kill, we can make the, you know, upgraded anti-fire, and that way we don't need the shield anymore. But we did knock it out with anti-fire and melee, made our upgraded anti-fire, and we headed back there with ranged, and it's attain a rare drop from Vorkath, and there's a time gate on it, which is luckily enough, but I was here for quite a while. Finally, on KC 35, we get our Vorkath head. Could have been worse, could have been better, but we got it done. And with Vorkath dead, we unlock Grimoire, which allows you to switch spellbooks at the bank. It can act as a Book of the Dead, and most importantly, it unlocks access to all prayers and spells, regardless of area, quest, or diary requirements. And that was the best part. We got all our high-level abilities. I went through all the trouble of figuring out how to upgrade the Vorkath head into an accumulator, and I think I never actually wore it. I completely I created it, and then I never actually used it, because by the time I remembered it, I already had the quiver from Colosseum, which was really funny. Watching myself back go through all the effort of figuring out how to create the accumulator and upgrade it and everything. After upgrading our prayer, I also went and bought some obsidian gear, trying to upgrade myself as much as I can, and I headed back to Hewick-Waddle, and honestly, I got extremely lucky. I think, what was it? Yeah, my first kill back, KC7, I got a Tome of Earth. I won't lie, I understand how lucky I was, but I definitely deserved it, as you'll see later on in this video. And with that, we unlocked the Wall Gothic Sleep questline. And the next thing I'm looking towards completing is that column. And one of the things I need to complete is 80 fletching to fully decorate a magic totem. And not only do I need 80 fletching, I already have 80 fletching, I need magic logs. And all my KC at Bandos, as well as doing everything else, I never actually got any magic logs. And I know magic logs drop from General Grodor's loot table, and so I go ahead and camp General Grodor for a very long time. a a very long time. And I get all the way up to, let's see, I get up to 55 KC where I give up. I've gotten many duplicates. I got a Bandos hilt. I got Bandos Tassies, everything I need, just not magic lugs. And I decide to bite the bullet and just go train woodcutting all the way up high enough to chop magic logs. Even higher. I thought magic logs were 80. I got all the way, but they're actually 75. So, but with 80 fletching and magic logs and a fully upgraded totem, we unlock the Devil's Element, which is not really useful for us, but it also does give us another combat mastery, which is the most important part. And finally, it's time to try out some new content I've never done before, which was the Perilous Moons. Again, I wish I came here so much sooner. I did not realize how easy they would be. I smashed through them so quickly, and it was a very simple task. Perilous Moons giving us another plus 200% XP multiplier, bumping it all the way up to 13x experience. Now with all the... I think there's still one more XP multiplier somewhere on the grid, but I don't think I'll be getting it anytime soon. It's time to grind out some of the higher level skills. So I grabbed a bunch of supplies for fletching training and I headed to underwater agility, and I spent a lot of time here. I needed 92 agility to get to Hallowed Sepulchre, which is one of the better in-game tasks to do. And I trained my fletching during it. Again, we have total skill level tasks to complete, and fletching is just basically a free skill to train. We were here for quite a while. It definitely makes me think maybe I should have planned better on my skills. I probably should have paired agility and Slayer with something faster training method. That way I wouldn't have to train agility. But we did get to 92. Somehow we persevered and we ran through the Hallowed Sepulchre on our first attempt. I don't know how. I didn't have any tile markers set up or anything. But the great thing about this is it completes all achievement diaries. And the even greater thing is we can go and claim all the rewards and XP lamps. I think it totals up to like 1,000,000 XP before the multiplier. So it's like just enough to get a skill from level 1 to 99 if you want to. I ran around, I collected all the lamps. One of the lamps required a high smithing level, so I decided to dump a bunch of lamps into smithing until I could claim that final lamp. The rest of the lamps I dumped into Slayer, and I got my Slayer up to level 92. That way I could head over to Araxor, get a quick little Araxor kill. This is something I was quite comfortable with from last league. And it was actually to get a rare item from Araxor. Luckily with one kill, we were able to create upgraded anti-venom. And we spent a little bit of time here. Very simple boss fight, quite easy. I actually stayed here because I was like, I kind of wanted to create an Araxor weapon. So I stayed here for quite a few kills. Eventually, I think around kill 20, I just decided to give up and move on. With the rare from Araxor, we unlock our final XP multiplier, bringing us all the way up to 15 times XP rates. And now we have the ability to move on. I needed some AFK time. I needed to kind of figure out my forward route, as well as I needed to, do some in real life stuff. So I headed to the Chaos Altar and I decided to train prayer for a while. Got us all the way up to 86 prayer, as well as I went to do some AFK fishing, kind of just rounding out our total level a bit. I had more achievement diary lamps to claim. So I went through and claimed a bunch of them, and I started just dumping them on my combat skills. I kind of went through and looked through everything, and I realized there weren't any other skills I needed to level up at this point. Everything from here on out would just be combat oriented. And so I dumped a bunch of my skill lamps on defense, attack, and the rest of everything into strength. I got my defense and attack up to 90 and my strength quite high. And I just did a bunch of total level grinding. I did hit the Vires to get a blood shard. You know, being this strong and hitting really hard, having a blood amulet really helps a lot with just passive healing. And since I wanted to train my skills up a little bit anyways, and I have dodgy deals, I did get 3 blood shards, which luckily was enough for the rest of the run for me. And with our mining level finally at level 90, I head to Amethyst and grind out quite a few Amethyst shards to make some Amethyst darts for my blowpipe. Unfortunately, I don't really use the blowpipe much anymore from this point anyways, so it was kind of a little bit of a waste of time, but you know, it was fine. I headed to Armadale because I wanted to get some ranged armor. I mean, I was using green d'hide chaps and like no top. And again, it wasn't really for any reason other than I just kind of wanted to get it. It sounded like a fun thing to do. We got quite lucky getting the Arma chest plate, I think on KC 8, and we finished the Arma chain skirt on KC 29. And now it's finally time for some TOA. I did send a solo run because I wanted to get a little familiar with the mechanics and the raid before I go and grief other people. And luckily I didn't need to go grief any other people because on my first run I got a unique item, which was the yellow crystal used for upgrading the Karis. Um, that felt really good to do on just a level 300 solo raid. And I made a little bit of a mistake here. I'm kind of realizing I grabbed the scythe, thinking I would head to Theater of Blood right after. However, I probably should have grabbed the T-bow and headed to Yama first to get Last Stand. That way I could have just T-bowed through Yama, get Last Stand, go do other things, and then come to Theater of Blood. But I did get Scythe just because I really love the Scythe. I think it's such a cool weapon. I did do a solo run through Theater of Blood normal mode, just barely beating the Nilos, and did not get lucky. It would have been really cool if we got lucky there. But I decided instead of doing an hard mode people and just griefing people without the revive, I decided to go do Yama, and this boss almost killed my. It almost killed my league. I'm not gonna lie. I did not have a fun time. I lost my enjoyment for the league. I've got the rate for which you're supposed to finish this boss is supposed to be really quick. If the multipliers are correct, having I think it's 8x or 6x increased rare drops. The Oath Plate itself should be a 1 in 45, but then when you include the horn, it goes to a 1 in 15. A 1 in 15 chance you're supposed to finish this boss. I went 176 kills dry. I helped, I think 6 or 7 other people get their drop before I get mine. I even got enough Oath Plate shards, 450 of them, to be able to go craft my Oath Plate chest piece. Part of me was like, okay, you know what? Maybe they chose this boss and made it an awful drop rate because they were going to offer a way for people to have bad luck protection. And, you know, if for some reason they go 170 KC dry, they can just go craft it and it'll count. No, it did not. I spent the time. I mined all the crap. I crafted it. It did not count. Shout out to everybody who duoed with me. Another thing, I was kind of griefing here with the scythe. I just kind of sat here and face tanked, and everybody I ran with did all the mechanics. So, like I said, if I had to solo this, do all these mechanics, and do this 170 times, it 100% would have killed my league. But duoing it with people made it very easy and enjoyable. It just took a really long time. I mean, 176 kills at like 2 minutes per kill. It was 6 hours of just killing the boss. It was more than that because I had to find people to duo with between. I did a couple of solo kills that took me like 5-6 minutes to do. I even went and crafted the chest piece, which was another like 2 hours. I mean, it was like a 10-hour add-on to my time. It was stupid. It really annoyed me, as you can tell how upset I probably sound right now. Um, yeah, it was quite upsetting. I was glad I was able to help other people. I really appreciate everybody basically carrying me. Again, like I think I was trolling. If two people were using T-bows on this boss, the kills probably would have been like a minute, minute 15, honestly. But I everybody was so nice. Nobody really bothered me about using Scythe, and you know, they all did the mechanics. So I really do appreciate that. I was on my breaking point for a lot of that. And so with Last Stand, I head right back to top. I do a couple normals because I want to get more comfortable with the raid before I head into a hard mode. And I do go with a hard mode group. And if you don't know, oh, actually, do I do a hard mode? Oh yeah, I eventually do a hard mode. We did a 3-man and we got an Invernic Defender, and I was happy to have my depot and be finally out of this place. And from here on out, I thought everything else was going to be quite difficult. Come to find out, Soul Heretic, which I'm sure is a very difficult encounter, it was very easy with Infinite Food and Prayer. Kind of burned through it. The boss itself, again, with Last Stand. I don't even think I procced Last Stand. I just kept eating to be safe because I wasn't sure if he had, you know, a second phase or anything like that. But with Soul Heritage finished, we unlocked our Specialist perk, which made our Thundering Kofesh even stronger. The Specialist perk actually makes the Thundering Kofesh really OP. It reduces all your special attacks to only costing 20% and having 100% accuracy, as well as if you fail the accuracy roll with the special attack, you gain special attack energy. So really neat. Also, when you kill an NPC, restoring 15% special attack energy. It's very useful, but it is almost integral to beating the Inferno in under 30 minutes. So got it early just to make utilization out of it. I wasn't sure how difficult Soul Heritage would be, but it turned out to be quite simple. Could have done it probably a lot sooner. With that, I head over to Cox to knock out our last Mega Rare. Got really lucky in normal run with a bunch of people. Got Arcane Grimoire, you know, not useful as we have all prayers unlocked, but giving us the Tumican Shadow, which actually saw absolutely no use to this run. It's just kind of funny. With all that, I headed to the Doom Macchiato. Not sure if that's how you say it, but another new content I'm not familiar with at all. Luckily, with the Infinite Shark, Infinite Brew, Infinite Restore, you can kind of just eat through everything. It's not a big deal. It was a really easy encounter. I think I procced Last Stand at one point. I don't even think I procced it on level 8. I think I went to level 9 and things just got way stronger from there. But knocked that one out with ease. That gave us the max Vernic Threads, which is just basically all around best in slot boots, combination of the Primordial, Pegasian, and Eternal boots. And completing that row gave us exposure, making our special attacks have a 50% chance to do 50% more damage, just making the Thundering Kofesh even more OP. With everything else finally knocked out, we head to our final couple of challenges, and I was not expecting the Awakened Desert Treasure 2 bosses to be even more difficult than speedrunning Inferno, but it actually turns out it is way more difficult. I started at Redorvis, which was very easy. I think it took me a couple of tries to beat it on Awakened, but I did stay there and keep killing it to farm up some Awakened orbs, just in case I needed extras at the other boss. After beating Valdorvis, I headed over to Leviathan, and this is where this was by far the hardest boss for me out of everything. I'm not sure why. I've seen a lot of people say it was really easy for them. Maybe there's some kind of mechanic with it I'm not understanding, but it gets to a phase where it's just like it's alternating between the 3 attack styles, and you have to switch your prayer every flick while things are also falling on the ground, and so you have to be moving and flicking prayers, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. I mean, I could get it to about 150, 200 HP left before I would die, and it felt like I could not brute force it with Last Stand. I spent a good amount of time here, and I decided to try and upgrade my gear. I looked into getting a Slayer helmet. I got my Slayer helmet, and I went and imbued it. And with my imbued Slayer helmet, I imbued it at Soul Wars, took a few games. With my imbued Slayer helmet, I knocked it out easily. Not I shouldn't say easily, but I knocked it out just barely. Maybe I got a little lucky with hits that time. But man, that boss was awful. All I can say is you gotta pray flick the first few, and it's not until that really difficult one comes out that you can let your Last Stand proc. But I think if you have, you know, I did it with full Armadil. I think I had a Blood Fury as well as an imbued Slayer helmet, Vernic Threads. I didn't really have anything super special. You could probably do it as well. You know, 99 ranged if you don't. A quiver, of course. Next, I headed to Duke. Duke was really easy. Awakened. Yeah, just brute forced it with Last Stand. You know, dodged the first couple of hits, get him pretty low. I had no problems there. And then I headed to the Whisperer. So this boss is quite difficult, and I don't think you can brainless brute force it. I actually didn't try it. I did a little bit of research, kind of learning the mechanics, how the fight works, but without, you know, doing it perfectly. And basically, a lot of the mechanics drain your sanity, and when you're drained, your sanity drains all the way down to 0. You start taking a lot of damage, ramping up really quickly. And when it procs your Last Stand, it actually resets your sanity. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if there's some kind of mechanic that resets sanity on the Whisperer. But my strategy going into doing this was to kind of zerg the Whisperer down as far as I could until I procced Last Stand. And then as soon as I procced Last Stand, I would stop attacking the Whisperer, do whatever mechanics came out, and I would just sit here and run back and forth, not attacking it, prey flicking it until my Last Stand came back up. And as soon as my Last Stand came back up, I would go back to zerging it. You actually don't even need to prey flick it. You can just eat through everything. You just have to make sure you dodge the tentacles, because if you lose all your sanity before your Last Stand comes back up, you're kind of screwed. So this fight turned out, I saw a lot of people saying this was the hardest fight for them. This was actually quite easy. I got it on my first Awakened attempt, and yeah, that gives us basically a Berserker Helm party hat, aka the battle hat, which is just a no negative bonus Slayer helmet with additions in all styles. Really cool item. And with everything else completed, I headed into the Inferno. Apparently I should have been running around Thundering Kofesh everything. Instead, I was just using Blood Barrage for the first beginning of it. Later on, I kind of returned to just Kofeshing everything, and I think that would have been a little bit faster. We Kofesh through all the Jads, and we killed Zuck in no time at all. Finishing Zuck Cave in 25 minutes, unlocking Guardian, unlocking the Amulet of the Monarchs, as well as the Dragonfire Shield, and finally completing the board. Went to Hans, checked our time with Hans. We spent a little under 42 hours to complete. A lot of AFK time. It probably wasn't 42 hours. It didn't help that I spent over 10 hours at Yama, as well as doing a lot of inefficient things. But I had a lot of fun. It was really cool league mechanic. I hate that they put this in between RS3 leagues, but it is what it is. And, you know, I appreciate fun little game modes like this that kind of introduce you to the game and let you kind of run through the whole game in just one weekend. You know, really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.